All right, let's test out our plant identification skills. So let's look at this spiky plant right here. First question, is it a conifer, a fern, or a moss? No, it's not one of those, so it must be a flowering plant. So second question, is it a monocot or a dicot, a blade-leaf plant or a broadleaf plant? If we look at the leaves up close, we can see that the leaves have parallel veins. That tells us that it's a monocot. It's not flowering right now, but if it was, we'd probably see flowers in multiples of 3. All right, what about this big tree right here? Is it a conifer, a fern, or a moss? It's a conifer, so it's not a flowering plant. More broadly, it's a gymnosperm. Here's another conifer, not a flowering plant. All right, let's take a look at this plant. So is it a conifer, fern, or a moss? No. So it must be a flowering plant. Next, is it a broadleaf plant or a blade-leaf plant? Are the veins parallel?
The leaves have webbed veins, so this is a dicot.
All right, what about this tree? Is it a conifer, fern, or moss? No. So it's a flowering plant. Is it broadleaf or blade-leafed? Monocot or dicot?
It's a dicot, and when we look at the leaves, we can see that they have webbed veins.
All right, what do we think about this beautiful tree? We don't really need to ask if it's a flowering plant because we can see the flowers. So the only question, is it a broadleaf plant or a blade-leaf plant?
We can see that this is a broadleaf plant. The veins look somewhat parallel, but on close inspection we can see that they're actually webbed, so it's a dicot. This is a horse chestnut, which is a close relative of maple.
All right, next question. What about all this grass? Well, is grass a conifer, a fern, or a moss? No, it's not any of those, so it's a flowering plant. We don't usually see the flowers on shortly mowed grass, but let's take a look at the leaves. As we can see, the leaves of grass have parallel veins, so they are a monocot. Okay, what have we got here? We got a couple of similar looking big leaf plants. Are they conifers, ferns, or mosses? They're not ferns, so they're definitely flowering plants. But are they monocots or dicots? Well, let's take a closer look at the leaves. This larger one has parallel veins, as we can see, and it is a hosta. It's a monocot. Whereas this other one that looks similar, if we look closely, the veins are actually webbed, reticulate. So this is a dicot. They look kind of similar, but they're very different types of plants. All right, what about this plant right here? This is Phragmites reed, and we can see that it's a flowering plant from the flowers that are quite visible. And if we look closely at the leaves, we see parallel veins, so it's a monocot. All right, what about this tree right here? Is it a conifer, a fern, or a moss? It's a fern. I'm just kidding, ferns don't grow trees. This is definitely a flowering plant. It's not any of those. So let's take a look at the leaves. From a distance, you might think they're monocots, but remember, monocots don't really form trees. So this is a dicot, and if we look closely at the leaves, we can see the webbed veins. Okay, let's take a look at this one because it's a little bit tricky. It's not a conifer, a fern, or a moss, so it's a flowering plant. And when we take a look at the leaves, we see a lot of parallel veins. So is it a monocot? No, actually this is an elm. Elms are a little bit sneaky in that they kind of look like they have parallel veins, but they are in fact webbed. They're just arranged in such a way that they kind of look like parallel. That's elm for you. I'm here at Orchid Dynasty, one of my favorite plant shops in Salt Lake City, and they were generous enough to let me show off some of their plants. So these will be great for plant identification exercise. And of course, a lot of us are most familiar with our house plants, so we'll take a look at a few of these. Okay, here we've got a beautiful philodendron, and if we look closely, we can see parallel veins on this plant. It is a member of the aroid family, and those are monocots. Now, not all aroids are as straightforward. If we look closely at the leaves of this one, it looks like it has webbed veins, but aroids are monocots. So sometimes you need to use your botanical knowledge to identify plants. Okay, here we've got a triangle ficus, and if we look closely at the veins on this plant, we can see it's got webbed veins, so it is a dicot. In fact, ficus is in the Moraceae family, which is related to roses. And we have to take a look at these orchids while we're here. This is a classic Phalaenopsis moth orchid with some beautiful coloring. And let's take a look at these leaves. So orchids have a nice parallel vein system in their leaves, so it's very clear that they are monocots. Taking a look at their flowers, now what's unusual about orchids is that they have a zygomorphic, a bilateral symmetry to their flowers. But if we count the petals, we've got 1, 2, 3. In the back, we've got 4, 5, and this one right here is 6. So multiples of 3 makes it a monocot. Okay, here we've got some Spanish moss. Now, Spanish moss is called moss, but that's just a name. It's actually in the bromeliad family, which makes it a monocot, not a moss. Down below the Spanish moss, we've got some more familiar members of the bromeliad family, Tillandsia, air plants. That's the same genus actually as the Spanish moss. It's a Tillandsia. And these air plants, let's take a look up close at the leaves. Hopefully you can see that. If you look carefully, you can see the parallel veins. But in some cases, you just have to know a little bit about the identity of the plant because the veins won't be as obvious. All right, what about this plant right here? Conifer, fern, or moss? It is a fern, so it is not a flowering plant. Ferns don't flower, but they do have spores. Sometimes if you look at the underside of the leaves, if it's in the right season, you can see the spores. They look kind of crazy. From a distance, you might think it's a rose of some sort, but let's look closely at the flowers. Get it to focus here. These flowers have 4 petals, and they have 4 stamen as well. So definitely not in the rose family. This is actually a dogwood. There's only so many different plants that have 4 petals, so you can memorize the list pretty closely. Brassica is one family that does that. Dogwood and hydrangea, I think those are closely related. I believe they both have 4 petals, and there's definitely a bunch more, but not a huge list.